Star Trek fans everywhere were in shock when suddenly last week Eaglemoss's website went AFK after filing a notice of intention letter, which generally signifies that the company has gone bankrupt. And in today's video, we'll discuss the downfall of this collection giant. Hello and welcome to Backtrek, a web series that focuses on the background information of any given topic in Star Trek. In this episode, we're taking a look at Eaglemoss and why this once great company simply failed to live up to its once great reputation, causing many in the Star Trek fan base to turn their back on it, and of course, to better understand its place in Star Trek history. Eaglemoss's history begins all the way back in 1975 in the United Kingdom, with their first release of a partwork magazine line under the then name of Eaglemoss Publications. Basically, the entire premise of the company back then was to release a published work in various issues instead of all at once. This business model, which would see customers paying a small monthly fee, was actually quite clever, as it allowed customers to purchase said entire publication over time, making it an affordable deal for those who were financially struggling in the 1970s in the UK. Of course, there was a downside to all this, that being that customers would end up waiting months or even years in some cases before they had the entire published work in their waiting hands. Also, because of the monthly fee aspect, customers would tend to pay double or more for the product that they were purchasing when all was said and done. Over the next few decades, Eaglemoss would grow and expand from publishing into the figurine and collectible market, carving out a niche for itself with nerds everywhere as the leading collectible manufacturer. Eaglemoss Publications then merged with GE Fabry, another notable partwork publisher, in 2011, and continued to focus on publishing partworks that encompassed a wide array of subjects, creating and distributing more than 150 collections in 13 different languages across 5 continents. Eaglemoss's foray into the Star Trek universe would happen in 2012. You see, GE Fabry had a license to make Star Trek material, creating the well-known works of the Star Trek Files and its American follow-up Star Trek the Magazine, among many other works. But the license for Star Trek, as usually seems to be the case, was far more complex than it needed to be. While the people at Fabry did all the work on their Star Trek titles, all design and editorial work would be done at Midsummer Books, a publishing company that had entered into a partnership agreement with Fabry. This meant that Midsummer Books retained the overall legal copyright for all previously made Star Trek material, even though all the publications were produced by Fabry. Like I said, it was complicated. And when Fabry merged with Eaglemoss in 2011, they actually lost the rights to everything they had created for Star Trek at that point. But still retaining their Trek license meant that they could produce new Star Trek content, and they would, debuting the Star Trek The Official Starships Collection in May 2012. Eventually, Midsummer Books would sell the rights for the Star Trek Fact Files and magazine to Eaglemoss, who would then take it and launch the Illustrated Handbook Reference book series. That happened in 2019 and relied heavily on the content previously created for the Fact Files. And Eaglemoss itself would release various Star Trek collectibles, expanding on their Starship collection with extra large releases, ship dedication plaques, character figurines and busts, calendars, and of course graphic novels, buying up old comic book Star Trek releases and republishing them in book form, all under the brand of Hero Collector. The company is currently owned by Eaglemoss Capital, a holding company comprised of private investors based in London and Paris. All sounds great, right? So what went wrong? Well, as usually happens in companies that file for bankruptcy, the main issue was debt. In 2019, Eaglemoss reported a loss of about £857,000. That's about $1,028,000 US. And although that might sound high, it's really 2020 that would begin the death of Eaglemoss. By the end of that year, Eaglemoss had reported a loss of over £10 million, or $12 million US, blaming a restructuring of the company, a decrease in turnover of 36%, and millions of dollars having to be poured into stock destruction costs. Basically the costs to properly dispose of Eaglemoss's leftover packaging material. Also in 2020, the COVID pandemic hit, which reduced the number of products released to traditional newsagents and stores because of the lockdowns. To combat this internal threat, Eaglemoss would even run a number of sales through various retailer websites, including its own, on a regular weekly basis, all to no avail. Now, I've been a huge fan of Eaglemoss's collections for many years now. My Star Trek collection cabinet is filled with their little trinkets, but I have to say, I've never been impressed with Eaglemoss's customer service. Every time I dealt with them, I felt like I was playing Russian roulette. Oftentimes I would receive a broken product or even the wrong product, and contacting customer service would be one of the most infuriating quests of my life. Oh sure, the people were nice, but dealing with any issue often took 3 to 6 months of continual messages, emails, and phone calls. And in this day and age, that is simply unacceptable. I always felt that they were hoping that I'd simply give up out of frustration and move on, allowing them to keep my money and not fulfill their obligations. Of course, though, that's not who I am, and eventually all my situations would be resolved. But this problem alone would make me turn my back on the company proper, meaning I decided not to buy from Eaglemoss directly anymore, instead buying from local vendors or turning to the much more reliable Amazon for everything I wanted. And of course, this meant a decrease in revenue for Eaglemoss. As for them, selling to a vendor means the vendor gets a special reduced rate for buying their product. And if it was only me that had turned their back from buying directly from the once great company, well, it wouldn't be such a big deal for them. But the truth is, I've heard hundreds of people's stories similar to my own. So you can bet your bottom dollar that this had a huge impact on Eaglemoss's gross profit. In today's day and age, bad customer service is inexcusable, and thanks to social media and YouTubers such as myself, it's far easier to get the word out to stay away from a bad company. Now, I didn't want Eaglemoss to go under. They made amazing products. But what I am saying is that with their poor management style, bad customer service, and lack of really adapting to the COVID situation, well, I'm not surprised that they've gone bankrupt. And my heart goes out to all those people who undertook in that piece-by-piece Enterprise D build that will now never see their dream starship complete. And those people, designers, who were working on various projects for Eaglemoss, who will now probably never see a single dime for all their hard work. It's truly a sad situation. So what's next for Eaglemoss? Well, the British courts will now appoint an administrator who will assess the company's debts and assets with the goal of securing as much money as possible for whoever Eaglemoss is in debt to, while also looking for someone to buy the business in whole or in part before selling off all the company's assets. So, although there's hope that Eaglemoss isn't dead, the truth is that any surviving part of this company will end up looking very different than the Eaglemoss of yesterday. And maybe that's a good thing, and maybe companies like Eaglemoss can learn from its obvious and unacceptable mistakes, leaving Eaglemoss with a legacy of creating amazing products, but at the same time serving as a warning to all of what not to do with your company. A stark reminder of today's day and age, now only living as a faded memory in Star Trek history. Thank you for watching today's episode of Backtrek. What do you think of Eaglemoss's collapse? Did you have similar issues with Eaglemoss like the ones I had? Would you like to see more videos like this one? Well, leave your comments in the section below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, hitting that little bell icon so you won't miss a single video we release. Want to help the channel continue to have great customer service and not file for bankruptcy? Then consider becoming a channel patron. The link to our Patreon account is in the description below. Thanks again for watching. Live long and prosper.